In today's video, I'm going to be telling you what I read in the month of July. Hi friends, welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing something that I've never done on my channel before, and I'm really excited about it. And that is what I read last month. And let me tell you, it was juicy and spicy. I'm just gonna dive right on into it. I am gonna be looking down at my phone between a mixture of my Goodreads and also my notes app. I read too many damn books to keep track of them all in my head. I'm currently on book 41 of the year. Hey, it's the 8th month of the year, so you can do the math. That's a lot of books. We started off the month of July not super strong. I needed it. My last book of June was The Ritual. If you've read The Ritual, God bless your soul. How are you doing? How did you recover? I personally recovered by jumping into Always Only You by Chloe Leese, a very lighthearted hockey romance. I have been on a hockey romance kick this year, so this is no surprise, and it's also not the only one I read in the month of July. So let's dive into a little synopsis, if you will. To start off, I gave this book a 3 out of 5. In hindsight, I would even take it down to a 2.5 out of 5. Not because it's bad, but because I don't know how to rate my books yet. How the hell are you supposed to rate books on a scale of 1 to 5? I need it on a scale of 1 to 100, then I'd be able to give more accurate readings. That's really difficult. If some of the books that I'm reading are 5s, that's my favorite books. 4s are like, okay, not my favorite, but it's still a damn good book. 3 is like, it's a good book. This was a good book. Always Only You is Grumpy Sunshine, a bit of forbidden love, and a slow burn. Do I love me a slow burn? Yes, I do. And you'll see that throughout this video that a lot of the books I'm going to be talking about are very much so slow burns. I love them, especially when they're done right. So I really liked this book because the female main character, Frankie Zeffirino, is a neurodivergent woman with hyper-independence. Boy, do I relate to that. Frankie is autistic and she also has rheumatoid arthritis. It is a really refreshing perspective from a main character. I love romance, don't get me wrong, but I feel like so often the female main characters are just like these perfect, thin, petite little tiny girls. And I'm pretty sure Frankie was described as like petite, but it's just nice seeing a neurodivergent take on a female main character. And she is the social media manager for the hockey team, which our male main character, Ren Bergman, just so happens to be on the team. I don't know if he's the captain. I'm gonna be honest, I have a horrible memory when it comes to the books that I read because I read so many books, I forget what half of them are about. Ren instantly falls in love with Frankie the moment that they start working together, the moment that she walks in the door. She is just the most beautiful thing that he has ever seen, and he is enamored with her. I actually don't know if enamored's the right word in this situation. Needless to say, he's in love with her. But they're co-workers. It's a forbidden love. There's nothing he can do about it because they work together. But he thinks this whole time that Frankie is not interested in him. I also love this book because it's dual perspective. That's one of my favorite types of books. I love when we get to see from both perspectives what each person is thinking. So while we're seeing that he's been in love with her this whole time, we're also seeing that she's been falling for him as well, but she's trying to not accept that. As a hyper-independent woman myself, I get it, girl, where you're falling for someone and you're really into it, but your brain is telling you every reason why it will never work. I get it. So we go along of their journey of trying to accept their feelings for one another, seeing if they can figure it out, seeing if they can admit their feelings to one another. How will they make it work? It's wonderful. Moving right along, I got into one of my favorite books that I've read, actually ever. I was gonna say this year, but ever. You've heard it all over TikTok, I'm sure, and it's very hyped up. And I don't like reading books that are super hyped up because I think that gets my expectations up, and there's a lot of room for disappointment. I was not disappointed in the slightest. I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Before I say any of this, if you haven't read Fourth Wing, I am going to give a bit of a synopsis, but I would recommend going into it completely blind. I went into this book not knowing anything, and that's how I recommend everyone go into it. So please do that. Fourth Wing gave me everything I needed it to give me. It filled a void in my heart that has been left since the Akotar series and the Crescent City series that I thought could never be filled. I thought nobody else could make me feel the way that Sarah J Maas does, and the way that Cassian does, and the way that Hunt Appler does. But when I tell you this woman figured it out, Rebecca Yarros, I owe you my life, girl. It's enemies to lovers, it's forced proximity, dragons, magic. A little synopsis for you. Violet Sorrengail is our female main character in the Fourth Wing, and she is supposed to enter the scribe quadrant. The Fourth Wing sort of reminds me of Divergent in the way that like the world is built. So remember in Divergent how there's different sectors, is that what it's called, where there's Amity and there's Divergent and there's God only knows what other ones. That's sort of how this is divided. So you can become a scribe, you can become a healer, or you can become a rider. I can't remember if there's other ones, but that's sort of the main idea. And Violet Sorrengail is a tiny little thing. She's tiny, she's petite, she's brittle, her body gets hurt a lot, and she's very smart. And she wanted to become a scribe. Her father was a scribe, her father passed away, and she has always wanted to be a scribe. She was meant to be a scribe. However, the Sorrengail name is well known because her mother, her older sister, and her older brother are all some of the best riders that this land has ever seen. Her mother is the commanding general of the riders. And her mother is a bitch. Her mother is the commanding general, and she is forcing Violet to become a rider. If Violet were to decide not to become a rider and go into the scribes, she would likely be killed, or her mother would pick her out of there and force her to become a rider anyways. And it's not as easy as it sounds. Becoming a rider, most people die. It's not easy. You are put to the test. It is dangerous. It is trying. It is a lot for many reasons. Number one, dragons don't pick people who are weak. And like I said, Violet she's been weak her whole life. She's brittle, she's small, she's never trained to be a rider. She's a reader, she's a bookworm. So everyone thinks that the dragon's probably just gonna incinerate her, probably just gonna blow fire right onto her because she's small and she's little and she's gonna be afraid and she's not gonna be capable. So if the dragons don't kill her, then her competitors will because they want to kill her simply just because of who her mom is. Especially someone by the name of Xaden Ryerson. Xaden Ryerson is the most powerful wing leader, and he also just so happens to be the child of a rebel. Xaden's family and Violet's family have a lot of history that are leading them to be actual enemies. We go through the journey of Violet becoming a rider, surviving, finding potential love, and also uncovering the truth. And there's a lot of truths to be uncovered. Bitch, when I tell you this book was so good. It was so good. It made me feel things. Oh my god. I love magic. I love dragons. And I also love the romance. But it's a very slow burn. And there is romance in it. But it's not the focus of it. This plot is so thick. There's the perfect sprinklings of romance in it when you need it. I can't even say anymore. Go read Fourth Wing. This is my favorite read of the year. That's a big statement. Because I've read a lot of really good books this year. Damn. I don't know if I can say that actually. Because I just read Akatar and Crescent City this year. If it's not my favorite, it's damn near close. So if it wasn't obvious, Fourth Wing was a 5 out of 5 for me. After Fourth Wing, I jumped right into Throne of Glass. I gave myself no time to rest, no time to recover, because I was like, if I'm not getting the second book in this series, I have to get something to distract me from the pain and the book hangover that is being done with Fourth Wing. So I got right into Throne of Glass. The woman, the myth, and the legend, Sarah J Maas. 5 out of 5. Obviously. I have been putting off reading Throne of Glass for quite a while because it's an 8-book series, girl, and I knew I would love it, but also this is the last series I have of Sarah J Maas, and obviously there's going to be more Akatar books and there's a new Crescent City coming out, but like the thought of finishing her books and not having more to look forward to is really, really, really scary. Because I love this woman. Her books really do something to me. Throne of Glass. Let's dive into it a little bit. Selena Sardothian is an assassin who was enslaved. She gets summoned by the prince, the crown prince, if you will, Dorian. She gets summoned by him to come compete in a competition that is run by his father. His father just so happens to be the king of Adarlan. The winner of this competition becomes the king's champion, which also means she gets freed from slavery. So we go along the journey of Selena Sardothian competing against, might I add, grown men who are also assassins. Some of them are thieves. There's a lot of different types of people all competing to become the king's champion. While this is happening, we're getting a glimpse into the crown prince as well as the captain of the guard, who both might be falling for Selena. The crown prince is a bit of a golden retriever. He's charismatic, he's charming, he's a ladies' man, he gets a lot of attention. The captain of the guard is stoic. He's like that type of guy where it's like his girlfriend's like, only I see this side of him. He's not a ladies' man. He doesn't fall very easily. He takes his job very seriously. He's very loyal to the king. We are going along the journey of Selena going through this competition and fighting for her freedom. But while this is happening, evil breaks out. There's evil afoot in the castle. And it's killing her competitors. They're dropping like flies, and it's not just killing them lightly. It is like brutal, gruesome killings. So not only is Selena now fighting for her freedom, but she's also fighting to survive. And with that, we get some sort of quests almost to get to the bottom of what this evil is in the kingdom. It's incredible. 5 out of 5. I will say nothing more. If you haven't read it, go read this damn book. I read Throne of Glass first. A lot of people say read Assassin's Blade first. Haven't gotten to that one yet, but I recommend reading Throne of Glass first. I'll say that. After that, I said, girl, I need a palate cleanser. That was a lot, and I made a commitment to myself that in between every Throne of Glass book, I will read a standalone romance, not only to cleanse the palate and to let my brain decompress and process what I just read, but also so that I don't inhale this series. Because I did that with Aquatar, and I was very disappointed in myself. And I didn't want to read Throne of Glass that fast. I'm trying to make it last. So next I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. Favorite romance book I've read this year. I can't say my favorite book because it's not fair to put romance books up against fantasy books. It's not. Nothing will compete with Fourth Wing. Nothing will compete with Crescent City. Nothing will compete with Aquatar. Like, romance novels simply don't have a chance. But as far as romance goes, this is my favorite romance book because this is the love that I want. That's what I'll say. Forced proximity. There was a breakup. I'll dive into it. So Wyn and Harriet. First of all, Wyn is the cutest name ever. Wyn and Harriet were the perfect couple, so we thought. And for reasons unknown to anybody, they broke up 6 months ago. Not only did they break up, they broke off their engagement. They met in college. They shared the same friend group. It was perfect. But they broke up and called off their engagement 6 months ago. But they're not telling anybody. They didn't tell any of their friends about it. Nobody knows that they broke up, which is so convenient and so perfect because the friend group, specifically the girls in the friend group, have a little vacation that they go on every year because life is busy and most of them don't live near each other anymore. So they go to this little cottage in Maine every single summer and it's just a girls trip. And Harriet is so excited because she's like, I'm going to tell the girls on this girls trip that Wyn and I broke up, that it's over. And I'm just going to enjoy the trip as well. Well, Harriet gets there, and guess who's there? Wyn. Isn't that perfect? Wyn is invited by their other friends because their friends are getting married on this trip. So they invited Wyn. So now Wyn and Harriet have to go this entire trip pretending to be together because they don't want to tell their friends that they have broken up and ruined the whole weekend and ruined their wedding. So for the sake of their friends, they're pretending to be together. How hard can that be? To pretend to still be in a relationship with the person that you broke up with. Right. So we're going along that journey of seeing that work out. Read the damn book. I can't even talk to you about it. Hey, whoa. I love them. It is so real. It is so raw. It is like such a real story. This gave me what normal people needed to give me. Happy Place for me was a 4.5 out of 5. Next up, Crown of Midnight, the second book, well, arguably the second book in the Throne of Glass series. I also gave this a 4.5 out of 5. If you haven't read the first Throne of Glass series, skip to this time so you can skip this book because it's not going to give any spoilers for the second book, but it will give some things away of what happened in the first book. So if you haven't read the first Throne of Glass, skip to this time. So Selena is now the King's champion. That bitch won. Also, sorry, the first book was a whirlwind for me. So good. Anyways, Selena is now the King's champion. The first half of this book or so is sort of taking us through what it looks like to be the King's champion. And I'm just going to read you straight from the book description because I can never do it justice. So this is the book description on Goodreads. She won, but she is far from loyal to the crown. She knows that the man she serves is bent on evil. Keeping up this deadly charade becomes very difficult when she realizes she's not the only one seeking justice. As she tries to untangle the mysteries buried deep within the castle, her closest relationships suffer. It seems no one is above questioning her allegiances. Not the Crown Prince Dorian, not Kale, not even her best friend Nehemia. One terrible night, the secrets they have all been keeping lead to an unspeakable tragedy. As Selena's world shatters, she'll be forced to give up the very thing most precious to her and decide once and for all where her true loyalties lie. Holy shit. This book, so the first half is a bit slow in Crown of Midnight, I won't lie, because you're just sort of seeing what it's like to be the King's champion. But it's necessary. We're building up to something. It is necessary. It's not boring by any means. When I say it's slow, it is not boring. Like, you're still interested. You just know we're building up to something. This is important. We're laying the land for something really big. It's a good one. And then the last book that I read in July was The Risk by Elle Kennedy. Once again, palate cleanser in between Throne of Glass books. Hockey romance, enemies to lovers, Fake dating. Brenna Jensen is the daughter of the hockey coach for Breyer University. Jake Connolly is the team captain for Harvard's hockey team. Harvard and Breyer, absolute rivals. So Brenna Jensen and Jake Connolly, enemies by default. Which is perfect because Brenna wants to be a sports announcer and she's trying to get an internship at a hockey network. She's at the interview for this internship and the man that's interviewing her is a misogynist. He is mansplaining things to her. He basically doesn't think women should be in sports. This man who is interviewing her is a big Oilers fan and Jake Connolly just got signed to the Oilers. So Brenna decides to drop, "Oh, by the way, Jake Connolly, that's my boyfriend." The interviewer goes, "Oh my God, you should come over for dinner." Obviously, Brenna has to take this opportunity because her future lies in this internship, and this internship lies on Jake Connolly being her boyfriend. So they have to fake date. Jake agrees to this, but he says, "For every fake date I go on with you, you have to go on a real date with me." Slow burn, enemies to lovers, forbidden love. It's such a good one. I think I read The Deal, which is also a part of the Breyer University series. It's like a series, but you don't have to read them in any particular order. They're so good. Every hockey romance is so good. I've never been upset about any of them. Hockey romances are just great, and they're great palate cleansers, and I highly recommend. So that is what I read in July. Let me know if you like this type of video. I've actually never watched a What I Read recap video on YouTube. I watch them on TikTok. I don't really watch many book-ish creators. So if you have any favorite book-ish creators, comment them down below. I'd love to go check them out. If you have any tips on how to make these videos better, let me know. I don't really know what you want to see in this, if you want to hear more of my take on them or just more of the synopsis, less of the synopsis. Let me know what you want to hear. If you want me to create videos where I give you my whole review on them and actually include spoilers, because in this video I did my best to not include any spoilers, let me know. Happy reading. Let me know what you read in July. Let me know what you're reading right now. Let me know what your favorite book of the year has been. And let me know what genre you've been loving recently. I love you, friends. See you next time.